When you place everything in God's hands, you are choosing to release the burden of carrying life on your own. In that moment of surrender, you recognize that the strength within you is not limited to your personal effort, but comes from a higher source that created you. The struggle begins to fade when you understand that life is not meant to be controlled at every step, but trusted as it unfolds according to a greater design. Through this trust, your perspective shifts, and you start seeing your circumstances through a sense of purpose, wisdom, and deeper meaning. Letting go of control allows fear, doubt, and worry to lose their hold over you. You begin to open yourself to possibilities that once seemed out of reach. There is a quiet confidence that grows within you, knowing that everything is arriving at the right time and in the right way.
Trusting in this process brings a sense of freedom, where you no longer feel trapped by limitations of time or uncertainty. Instead, you move through life with the understanding that things are already aligning in your favor. This kind of surrender is not about giving up or becoming passive. It is a conscious decision to release resistance and embrace trust. Each morning becomes an opportunity to begin again with gratitude, to recognize that a new day carries unseen blessings. Your thoughts, words, and intentions start to align with a deeper sense of faith, shaping the way you experience the world around you. As you continue to let go, you notice a shift within yourself. Peace replaces anxiety, and calm replaces restlessness. You begin to understand that your external circumstances do not define you. What truly shapes your life is your connection to something greater, and your ability to trust that guidance. Challenges no longer appear as obstacles, but as steps that lead you toward growth and a higher version of yourself. Living this way brings a sense of inner stability. You are no longer reacting to every situation with fear or urgency. Instead, you move forward with quiet assurance, knowing that you are being guided even when the path is unclear. Every experience, whether easy or difficult, becomes meaningful. Each moment contributes to a bigger picture that you may not fully see yet, but can learn to trust. As you release the illusion of control, life begins to feel lighter. You stop forcing outcomes and start allowing things to come together naturally. Opportunities appear where there once seemed to be none, and timing begins to feel more precise. What once felt like delays or setbacks starts to make sense as preparation for something better. Your daily life becomes less about striving and more about flowing. You act with intention but without fear. You trust that the right decisions will become clear, and that each step will lead you where you need to be.
This trust deepens your sense of purpose and strengthens your connection to the present moment. Over time, you begin to realize that surrender is not a loss of power, but a shift into a greater kind of strength. It allows you to live with clarity, peace, and confidence. You stop chasing outcomes and start recognizing that what is meant for you is already moving toward you. Your role is simply to remain open, aware, and trusting. In this state, life no longer feels like a constant struggle. It becomes a journey guided by meaning, where every step has value. You understand that you are not alone, and that there is a force working with you, shaping your path in ways you may not always understand, but can learn to accept. When you truly let go and trust, you step into a way of living that is calmer, more aligned, and deeply fulfilling. You begin to see that everything is unfolding as it should, and that even the uncertain moments are part of a greater plan.
In that realization, you find a lasting sense of peace. There is a quiet intelligence within you that feels like more than just thought. It shows up as a subtle pull, a deep sense of knowing that does not need proof. Many people dismiss it, thinking it is imagination or wishful thinking. But what if that inner voice is actually guidance pointing you forward? You have likely experienced moments where something inside you felt certain, even when nothing around you confirmed it. Yet doubt steps in and you hesitate. You question whether you can trust it. But consider this. What you call imagination may actually be the channel through which direction reaches you. Those ideas that stay with you, the visions that keep returning, they are not random. They are signals guiding you towards something already aligned with your path. There is a reason some desires stay alive no matter how much time passes. They are not passing thoughts. They carry intention. They are pointing you somewhere specific. When you ignore them, you feel stuck. When you follow them, things begin to move, even if slowly. Life does not unfold randomly. Even when things feel delayed or uncertain, there is structure behind it. What looks like waiting is often preparation. What feels like a setback is often redirection. In time, when you look back, the pattern becomes clear. The challenges were shaping you into someone capable of handling what you once asked for. You do not need to control every outcome. In fact, trying to control everything creates resistance. When you start trusting the process, you move differently. You act with more confidence, less fear. You stop wasting energy on what you cannot see and start focusing on the next step in front of you. There will be moments where nothing makes sense, times where doors stay closed and progress feels slow. That does not mean things are not working. It means timing is still aligning. Just like in nature, growth happens in stages.
Nothing blooms instantly, and neither do you. When you slow down and pay attention, you begin to notice how things fall into place at the right moment. Conversations happen at the right time. Opportunities appear when you are ready. Clarity comes when you stop forcing answers. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. Your role is not to figure out the entire path. Your role is to move forward with what you know right now. Each step reveals the next. When you trust that, the pressure eases. You stop chasing and start allowing. Even in difficult moments, something is being built. Strength, patience, awareness. These are not wasted experiences. They are necessary parts of your development. Without them, you would not be ready for what comes next. There is a rhythm to everything. When you move with it instead of against it, life becomes less of a struggle. You begin to see that not everything needs to be forced. Some things require action, others require stillness.
Trust does not mean everything will be easy. It means you move forward, even when you do not have all the answers. It means you continue even when the outcome is unclear. Over time, this builds a kind of certainty that does not depend on external validation. As you keep going, you start noticing patterns. Things that once felt confusing begin to make sense. You realize you were never as lost as you thought. Each step, even the uncertain ones, was leading somewhere. In the end, the path is not something you fully see from the start. It reveals itself as you walk it. And the more you trust that process, the more clearly it unfolds. There is a deeper principle shaping reality, something subtle but powerful, where your inner world quietly influences what unfolds around you. Most people move through life without realizing that their thoughts, their words, and their inner beliefs quietly shape everything they experience. But I came to understand something simple and powerful, something that completely shifted my reality. I didn't win by accident or luck. I repeated a small set of words with total certainty, again and again until they became real to me.
In quiet moments, especially at night when everything was still, I would say those words, not as a wish, not as hope, but as something already completed. I would close my eyes and feel it as real. I imagined holding the ticket, seeing the numbers clearly, not as a possibility but as a fact. As I repeated the words, I felt a shift inside me. It is done. It is mine. Thank you. Doubt would try to enter. Fear would whisper. But I didn't give those thoughts any attention. I stopped relying only on what I could see. Instead, I understood that what shows up in life is just a reflection of what is already accepted inside. So I didn't look for proof or question the process. I stayed consistent with the feeling and the words, trusting that they were shaping something beyond what I could see. Each time I repeated them, I felt surrounded by abundance. I carried myself differently. I acted like someone who already had more than enough. I felt gratitude before anything physically appeared because I understood that belief comes first. Then naturally things began to align. The results showed up not as a surprise, but as something expected. People called it coincidence, but I saw it differently. What we accept as true internally eventually shows up externally. When you truly know something, the world starts to reflect it back. I had already experienced those moments in my mind many times before they happened in reality. So when they did happen, it felt normal, not shocking. I didn't rely on strategies, numbers, or systems. Those were just tools. The real work happened within. I learned that chasing things creates distance, but claiming them internally brings them closer. I stopped waiting, stopped overthinking, and simply accepted that what I claimed was already mine. Over time, it became easier. The words were no longer something I repeated. They became part of me. They shaped how I thought, how I felt, and how I moved through life. I didn't beg for anything or feel separate from what I wanted. I understood that my thoughts and words had influence, and I used them with certainty. Others tried to explain it in logical ways, but not everything fits into logic. What matters is consistency of belief. Doubt is what interrupts the process. So whenever doubt appeared, I returned to the same simple words and the same feeling until my mind settled again. I didn't argue with people who didn't understand. I just focused on my own mindset. I noticed that when actions come from a place of lack, they don't lead to much. But when they come from a place of already having, things begin to shift. With time, I realized the result itself wasn't the most important part. What mattered was understanding how powerful the mind can be when it stays focused and consistent. That understanding can be applied to anything, not just money. I stopped reacting to what I saw around me and stayed aligned with what I had already accepted internally. Even when nothing seemed to change on the outside, I didn't let that affect my belief. I stayed with the same words, the same feeling. It is done. It is mine. Thank you. This wasn't about repeating words without meaning. It was about feeling them deeply until they felt natural and true. Over time, that inner state shaped the outer experience. The key is persistence, not forcing, not struggling, but staying consistent with what you accept as real. When your thoughts, feelings, and words align, things begin to shift naturally. In the end, it's not about luck or chance. It's about what you consistently accept as true within yourself. When that becomes steady, everything else starts to follow. When I said I won the lottery, I didn't say it like I was hoping or waiting. I said it with certainty, as if it had already happened. I allowed that feeling to sink into every part of me. I lived as though I was already in that reality. I didn't worry about how it would happen or try to figure out the details. My only focus was staying in the feeling of already having it. Each time I repeated those words, I felt the excitement, the joy, and the freedom, as if the money was already mine. With repetition, it became more real to me. Slowly, my outer world began to reflect what I believed inside. Even small things, like receiving money, felt like confirmation that everything was working. The more I trusted, the more results I saw. The stronger my belief became, the more my reality aligned with it. There is no lack in this world, no limit to what is available. What you see in your life right now is only a reflection of your past thinking. The moment you change your beliefs and align yourself with abundance, your reality must change too. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are living as if it already has. That's when everything begins to shift. So I kept affirming it. I said I won the lottery with full belief until it felt completely natural, like an undeniable truth. And the world responded just as it always does. This law does not fail. It gives back exactly what you believe. When you assume something is true, it has to become your experience. It wasn't just one result. Things kept unfolding again and again in different ways. Not always how I expected, but always in alignment with my belief. It showed me that it's not about luck or chance. It's about understanding how your mind and beliefs shape your reality. When you truly accept that everything is already on its way to you, doubt disappears. You begin to live with certainty, and your world reflects that. This goes far beyond money. It applies to everything: success, happiness, opportunities. The key is to live from the end, to feel as though it's already yours. Once you do that, your external reality has no choice but to match your internal state. At first, it wasn't about winning anything. It was about understanding how creation works. Every time I repeated those words, I wasn't just speaking, I was shaping my reality. I realized that life doesn't just happen to us, it reflects what we hold within. Our experiences mirror our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. I stopped letting my current situation control how I felt. Instead, I chose to feel abundant first. I made decisions from the mindset of already having, not from lack. My actions, big and small, matched the version of me who already had everything I desired. This created a bridge between my inner world and my outer world. The mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It only responds to what you consistently feel and believe. When you feed it certainty and abundance, it works to bring that into your life. So repeating those words wasn't just talking, it was creating a new state of being. Over time, that state became natural. I felt the joy, gratitude, and confidence as if everything was already done. And as that feeling grew stronger, my outer world followed. Opportunities appeared, situations changed, and things aligned in ways I couldn't have planned. I didn't force anything. I didn't chase or struggle. I allowed it. I trusted that everything was unfolding. That's where most people struggle. They want results without changing their inner state. But you can't receive something you're not aligned with. You have to become the person who already has it. Repetition played a huge role. Each time I affirmed it, I strengthened that belief. It became part of my identity. And as my belief solidified, my reality adjusted to match it. If you want something, anything, you must live as though it's already yours. Don't wait for proof. Feel it now. Think from it now. Act from it now. The external world will follow. You don't need to figure out how it will happen. That's not your job. Your role is to assume, believe, and stay consistent in that state. The rest will unfold naturally. The real reward isn't the outcome itself. It's realizing that you have the ability to shape your life through your thoughts and beliefs. Once you understand that, nothing feels out of reach. Everything you experience is a reflection of what you believe to be true. Change that, and everything else changes. Live in the feeling of already having what you want, and your world will begin to mirror that. So continue to affirm it, not as a wish, but as a fact. Feel it deeply, live from it completely, and allow your reality to align with the truth you've chosen to believe. In the end, this idea is not just about positive thinking or repeating words, it's about a fundamental shift in identity. When you truly accept something as real within yourself, your decisions, reactions, and focus begin to change automatically. You stop acting from lack, doubt, or waiting, and instead move with a quiet certainty that what you seek is already yours in essence. That internal shift influences how you see opportunities, how you respond to challenges, and even how others respond to you. Living in this state requires consistency. It means returning to that inner conviction even when external circumstances seem to contradict it. The outer world often lags behind the inner transformation, but if you remain grounded in the feeling of already having and being what you desire, the gap begins to close. Your environment, relationships, and outcomes gradually reorganize to match that internal truth.
So the real work is not forcing results, but maintaining alignment. Keep affirming, not mechanically, but with genuine belief. Keep feeling, not occasionally, but as a natural state of being. And keep living, not as someone chasing a future, but as someone who has already stepped into it. When you do that, change is no longer something you hope for. It becomes something inevitable.
Over time, this way of living begins to reshape your entire perception of reality. What once felt distant or uncertain starts to feel familiar, even natural, because your inner state is no longer negotiating with doubt. Instead, it is anchored in certainty, and that certainty quietly reorganizes everything around you. You may not always notice it immediately, but subtle shifts begin to appear. New opportunities, unexpected conversations, different choices, and a growing sense of ease where there was once resistance. But the deeper truth is that this process is not about forcing reality to obey your thoughts. It is about becoming so aligned with what you choose to believe that contradiction loses its power over you. You stop reacting to life as something happening to you and begin experiencing it as something moving through you and from you. That change in identity is what creates lasting transformation.
There will still be moments where old doubts try to return. That is natural. The difference now is that you no longer feed them with attention or emotion. You recognize them as echoes of an older mindset, not instructions for your future. And each time you return to your chosen state, calm, certain, already fulfilled, you strengthen the version of you that lives from that reality. So the conclusion is simple but powerful. Consistency becomes creation. Not occasional belief, not temporary optimism, but steady inner alignment. When your inner world stops fluctuating and settles into certainty, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that stability. And what once felt like something you were trying to reach becomes something you are steadily expressing, moment by moment, as your lived experience.